All right, my name is Shayla Sharp. I'm the Vice President of Sharp Pursuits Event Company. We are the hired event manager for Fun Fourth Festival. We work right alongside DGI and planning the festival. I think this is our 6th year. So we are well versed in the way the festival runs and what you'll need to be doing. A lot of you have met Tia already via email or by phone. She's our volunteer coordinator for the festival this year. And Dominique in the back is our logistics manager. So any one of us that you see though, it looks like we're showing off our clothing line today. We all have a different shirt on, but you'll see Sharp Pursuits logos throughout the festival. We have stage managers, AV crew, DJs, all that kind of thing throughout the festival. So if you see anybody with the SP3 logo, feel free to stop them and ask them a question. They're all gonna have a radio, so if you find anybody with this logo, they're gonna be able to get you to where you need to go. Okay, so we're just gonna go over a few day of procedures and a couple of things afterwards just to kind of get you ready for Saturday. One of the things I do want to start out talking about is, this is a rain or shine event. I've already had a couple people say, oh, well, the forecast, well, we don't really pay attention to the forecast too much unless it's like 100% torrential, okay? So as of right now, we're looking at around 81 degrees, which is awesome if it stays about there. It can go even lower as far as I'm concerned. And maybe a 40% chance of scattered thunderstorms in Greensboro. So we all know that means doesn't necessarily mean it's going to rain in downtown. So we work closely alongside the emergency management department with the city to kind of see what's coming. So we will know if really bad weather is on the way in. We'll be given, like a 15-minute, 20-minute warning. That way we can get the word out to everyone to get to safe locations. So we'll jump ahead in saying that we have set up an emergency alert system this year. So if you look at the bottom, if you text that number, even today, it'll go ahead and get you in the system. So on Saturday, if there is an alert, you'll get it directly on your phone, okay? So we are encouraging the public as well as all volunteers and staff members to be on that system, okay? Another thing.
So can you call if you don't text?
No, it's an alert system, so it just sends out text messages. If you don't get the text message, then we will of course find you while you're on site and make sure you get to a safety. Any other safety announcements that have to be made will also be made from the stages, and so there'll be various points of contact if there is a concern. We also work the crowd to make sure that people have heard the emergency alert, understand where they need to go. Obviously, we cannot make the crowds move, so we're not asking you all to do any of that. I want to be very clear about that. Volunteers are assigned to a specific position. If inclement weather's coming through, we're not asking you to turn into the emergency crew. All right, you're volunteers for what you're here for today. We've got city staff and event staff to handle all of that. So we want to just make that clear. One thing that we want you to do today is take your t-shirt home with you. How many people in here volunteered in 2019? Okay, so if you volunteered in 2019 and you still have your shirt, it is the exact same shirt as this year. I know that's pretty shot in the dark. It was 2 years ago.
So it'll be this shirt, just so everyone can see if you have this shirt, we do. And I'll just explain to that a little bit further. It's just with the short time frame that we do it together, really securing someone to get us t-shirts for all of our volunteers in a short period of time was a very limited number. So we do have some available today for you to take home, but just if you do have it, it'll be beneficial. So it's fair for everyone for you to just use the same shirt if you have it.
So we definitely want, for those who do not have it, to go grab yours today. That's the benefit of attending the meeting. You don't have to worry about not having your size or your shirt available on Saturday. And so we're just gonna have you guys grab that today before you leave. So when you show up on Saturday, check-in will be smoother for you. And then that way you can go ahead and get to where you need to go, okay? All right, so on your handout here, you have two things. You have can I have a copy? The festival footprint. This is just a copy of what the public is getting and what's going out in promotions online and on the news. And just give you a chance to get kind of comfortable with the festival footprint. For those of you who have volunteered before, we spoke in terms of pods and areas. Well, this year we're just going to say zones because this is not the full festival footprint. So we're from Lewis Street to February 1 this year. We're not going down to the parks. So much more smaller footprint than what we're used to doing. And a much more, for lack of a better word, watered down festival in order to work to keep the streets as clear as possible, allow people to be socially distant. The goal was to still celebrate, but to still be safe. And so there's going to be a high emphasis on safety. You're going to see sanitizer at all of your volunteer locations. Some of you, depending on what you're doing, are going to be, asked to regularly wipe down the tables. And, after one group comes in, wipe it down after they leave, that kind of thing. We've gotten used to that in the event industry at this point. We've got our offices full of 6 feet signs of sanitizer. That's just the way it is for right now, but that's what we got to do in order for things to remain safe. So down here there will actually be a stage right in front of DGI, but this is the check-in location. So this is where you will come on Saturday. There will be a stage just cut around here. There's not going to be anything blocking you from getting in here, but just keep in mind Lewis Street will be open to through traffic from both directions. The good part about those of you who are checking in the morning, you're going to have the run-of-the-mill parking spaces because nothing will be happening yet. So we do recommend you parking on this side of the footprint so that you can just go ahead and walk in and get check-in on time. That's what's most important. If you have to move your vehicle after you've checked in to go to another side of the footprint, then that's okay. We're going to build in time for that. But we really need you to check in on time so we have a good idea for if someone didn't show up and what we need to do to react to that. So you're going to head here first. Just to give you an idea, we'll have some of our downtown vendors that are not on the footprint are going to actually come onto the footprint under tents. So we did not do full-blown vendor merchants like we normally do. It was only open to downtown businesses, and obviously that's us kind of reciprocating in the fact that they're rebuilding just like everybody is. And so there'll be a few of them scattered throughout the footprint. We will have water, beer, and soda sales will be very similar to previous years for those of you who are understanding what that is. Then we'll also have a stage at Hamburger Square. We're gonna have sponsors and roaming characters kind of sprinkled throughout. So you're gonna see, Black Panther and Captain Marvel and all those folks roaming around, a bunch of princesses, some aerial, some circus acts. So some aerialists, we'll have aerialists set up in one place, a bubble artist. So a lot of roaming. The goal is to keep it fluid. So everything that you're seeing is very intentional. If you hear someone say, oh gosh, this is not the same, well, it wasn't supposed to be. Okay, so we're just trying to keep things same and keep people moving. We encourage as many of the businesses to stay open on the 4th as we can. Obviously, everybody is going to approach that in the way that's best for their business. So some will be open, some won't. So we're going to have as much going on to encourage, people investing in downtown as much as possible. Okay. We'll have the stage at Hamburger Square where it's normally located, and this time we're going to have a full stage at February 1 right outside of the Civil Rights Museum. Okay. So one of the things that I want you to pay attention to on here is there are lots of P's for parking. We are not necessarily giving you a parking pass inside the footprint. There's no driving inside the footprint. So we encourage you to come around this area to check in. I would say if you're comfortable, walk to your volunteer location so you don't have to go through finding a parking space yet again. We have no idea how many people are coming on Saturday. We've learned with Fun Fourth there's no way to ever estimate it. And honestly, we're all kind of batting our nails a little bit about what it's really going to look like in the midst of everybody being comfortable with coming back out during the midst of the pandemic. So I encourage you to find a parking space and just stay there, because especially for those of you who are checking in the middle of the day, you're going to be roaming a lot, trying to find a space. And we want to make sure you get to your location as best you can. If need be, and if it's available, we can't guarantee it will be available when you check in. We will have a series of golf carts in rotation, so if we need to come grab somebody and transport you to your location, we will do that if we have one available. Okay? All right, so you're going to check in here. For those of you who are assigned to the beer tents, you are going to get your ID check to make sure that you are 21. Obviously, we can't have anybody 18 years old pouring beer, and so we do have to check that. So Tia will be in this headquarters the whole time, and another person named Marbella from our staff assisting the check-in volunteers with the process of getting everybody taken care of. This is all the location for snacks and AC. So if you are able to take a break from your position, and take a break means you're not leaving it empty, okay? Or if you feel the need that you're kind of starting to get a little flushed and you need to get some air conditioning, we'll have a zone manager. And we're going to make you aware of who that person is and their contact information when you check in, so that you can say, Dominique ends up being your zone manager. She say, hey, I really need a break, and then maybe we'll fill in for you while you go take a few minutes to sit down. So we don't want anybody passing out. Obviously, please dress according to the weather, and make sure that you remain hydrated, all of those things. And so we'll have water and snacks here, and like I said, our air conditioning as suit air conditioning. Okay? All right, so please be sure to do that. We do not have an indoor AC location anywhere else on the footprint this year. This is it. So this is exclusively for volunteers.
Is there a restroom for the volunteers?
Yes, so we have restrooms throughout the footprint, so we do have that. They're the traditional portable restrooms. You can use the restroom in here, so that's okay, but there's only one here, it's around the back. There will be restrooms in the Martin Luther King lot, which is one intersection up here. There'll also be restrooms in the Elm McGee lot that's over there by the W and McCool's across from Natty Green's. There'll be some restrooms there, and there'll also be someone off of February 1. So you won't have to go far to use the restroom depending on where you're, no matter where you're volunteering. When you check in, we're going to reconfirm your position due to the fact that we only had 5 weeks to put the festival together. Volunteers are still signing up, and so there is a chance we might have to adjust your assignment on Saturday based on the needs of the festival. So if there's any concerns with your adjustment, please just very calmly and very nicely explain that to whomever is telling you that you're in a new position. If it is something that you don't want to do, and of course we're not here to make anyone uncomfortable or do anything that your body doesn't want you to do. So if we have you like in a standing position and standing is not good for you, please let us know. If you know ahead of time that you're going to have to take some breaks to stay hydrated, we all have our different our different limitations. That's perfectly okay. Just to make sure that people around you are aware. We want everyone to remain safe. Okay. So we're going to reconfirm your position and then give you anything that's needed to accomplish that task. So for most people, that'll just be heading to your location because we'll already have things preset. Our morning volunteers are going to be a part of the setup process. So if you're in that 8:30 to 12-ish time slot, the festival doesn't start till 3, so that means you're full setup with us. Except for our check-in folks, you'll be here helping getting people checked in and replenishing snacks and that kind of thing. For those of you who are kind of like in the middle of the day, one thing to keep in mind is that your shifts overlap for a reason. The goal is that the new people have a time to park, check in, get to the location, and have a few minutes to find out from the previous crew what to do, okay? You will have constants in your area in terms of your zone managers and the rest of our staff. So it's not like everybody will be starting from scratch each time. But we would really like for you to not leave early if you can absolutely help it. If it's a health issue, the biggest thing is communicate that to your zone manager or to another volunteer so we know you're gone. That's one of the things that we had over the years with like inflatables. We would have volunteers just walk away, and all of a sudden you see kids were going back crazy on the on the inflatable. We just had to unplug it and shut it down because the volunteers walked away. So some things we can finagle and move folks around if need be, but please just communicate and let us know. But that is the most important thing, is that you just let us know where you're at, especially in inclement weather situations. Say we have to kind of get restarted and everybody kind of had to scatter. We've had some fun force where that weather came through swift and crazy and everybody just ducked and covered where they could. We just want to make sure we kind of know where everybody's at so we can get back up and running. So that is what we mean by rain or shine. We're going to wait for that weather system to run through, and then once it's gone, we're going to start again, okay? Assuming that it's safe. So we'll keep communicating with you in that way. When you get to your position, either the volunteers before you or your zone manager will train you on what to do. If you don't get enough of the information in the front end, please don't guess, ask questions. We will have someone that is assigned by DGI at each of the beer and soda and water sales areas to manage the money aspect of keeping an eye on that. So I hate to say it, but you have to put it out there. Big Brother will be watching, and I'm not going to tell you who Big Brother is, okay? So please do not take any of the sales and take them home with you. We do have to put that out there because sometimes people do try to do that. We are trusting everybody on the honor system and to just get through, sell the stuff, and have a good day. When you head to your location, it shouldn't take you more than 10 minutes to walk if you're on the far end of the footprint. And so depending on the crowds and that kind of thing, that's why we said we can try to get you there in a golf cart, but we also may not be able to get through the crowd with the golf cart. So that's always the other issue with in the midst of the festival. So just kind of keep that in mind. Your zone manager is an experienced event manager, and they've all worked previous Fun Fourth, so they'll be able to give you all the information that you need. For those of you all who are working in the middle of the footprint, the hybrid bus that's normally on site that is the cooling location is not open to the public or volunteers this year. So just keep that in mind. It will be here. It's wrapped with all the good COVID precautionary information to keep the public informed, but it will be parked and it is not available for people to sit in and cool down, unfortunately, due to COVID. So just wanted to put that out there. So once you knock it on the door and someone doesn't let you in, you will see them let some people in. It's the cooling location for the characters. So unless you're dressed like you're not from this world, you're not getting on that bus. All right, so that's just the best way to do that. Does anybody have any questions regarding event day procedures so far? Yes, ma'am.
You said it started at 3.
Yes, ma'am.
When does it close?
It ends at 9. And depending on your area, we'll shut down a little bit earlier, and we'll give you those pieces of information, but like some snippets of that are beer sales and beverage sales will close at 8. Food trucks close at 8:30. And when I say food trucks, I mean a handful of food trucks that were brought in at the last minute to balance out the restaurants that weren't gonna be open, to make sure that we didn't have more beer than food. Not day beer, food, not a good combination.
point.
Okay, so if anybody says, I thought they said they weren't taking vendors, that was not the plan. And most of our food trucks are downtown businesses and connected in some way. So we try to keep it in that circle, but there will be food trucks down in the McCool's area. So obviously if you're hungry and you want a meal, you have all the restaurants around, and you've got Seafood Destiny, Gassan's, Kona Ice, and Kettle Corn vendor that are over there if you want to grab some food.
Thank you.
And refreshments are here, of course.
Yes, and snacks and all that good stuff. So we're asking you to arrive on time, remain for your entire shift. I informed you about the shifts overlapping. Lots of sanitizer everywhere. If you get to your site, there's no sanitizer. Be like, no sanitizer. We want to make sure that we're all staying safe. There will be lots of forms of sanitizer. There will be pumps and sprays and individual bottles. Lots of options for you.
And giveaway. So if
Yeah.
you're at a location and we put little bottles at your location, please let folks take them, just so they feel safe and we're all staying safe.
Right. We will also have masks for those who choose to wear them outside. Obviously, we know it's not a requirement anymore in North Carolina, but some of us are still choosing to do that. So if you do, it will be hot. So for instance, say you sweat through the mask you have, there will be a few extras around for you to replace that if you need one. So those will be out there. We will have first aid locations throughout the footprint as well here. First aid location on this side is DGI. We will have a Scripps and ID tent in the middle of the footprint by the near Design Archives and McCool's. That will be probably where Kim is hanging out. I will say Scripps on the outside of the tent, and you can go there for first aid as well, or direct someone else there if they need it. We will have additional assistance from Rhino Security that will be kind of be walking around helping people with information and directions. They'll just be kind of roaming. That will help with that. But if someone happens to come to you, that's a place to go. If you're in February 1 side of the footprint, there will be a tent set up right in front of Elm Street Center, under the overhang. So water, basic Band-Aid, that kind of thing. Of course, if there's any major issues, someone passes out or is severely harmed or anything in that way, definitely let your zone manager know, and we can radio for EMS to come out if they haven't already got to them first. Okay. All right, restrooms, we discussed that already, but it's printed here just in case you have to go really bad and you forget where you're going. And we talked about the emergency alert system. Does anybody have any other questions about the basics of your day? Yes, ma'am.
So those of us working inside at the check-in, do you prefer that we wear masks?
It's your discretion. It's your discretion. We'll have them on site if you forget one, like Shayla mentioned, but we're not requiring anyone to wear them just with the Band-Aid. It's not necessary for those who are vaccinated. It's unprofessional of us to ask if you are vaccinated, so we won't ask that question. So it's just use your discretion. If you know you are and you feel comfortable, then, by all means don't. But if you feel uncomfortable because you can't ask someone else if they are vaccinated, then just go ahead and ask them. And we'll have them in here.
And for those of you, everyone should have received an email from TA already about what you're doing. And so obviously for those, if you haven't, you can check in with her today and she can let you know. But for those of you who are dealing directly with the public in terms, especially like the beer sales, water sales, that kind of thing, you are gonna have people coming up to you. Just kind of keep in mind and do what you're comfortable with. Don't feel like, a lot of times right now people sometimes feeling like a mask is like kind of taboo and what's wrong with you? Wear it or don't wear it. It's completely your prerogative, okay? Nobody is judging. We just want to make sure everybody feels safe and is being safe, which is important. We're just going to go over some of the descriptions of the area real quick, something real simple. Everybody has it attached just so we can answer any questions. You'll get more in-depth details on exactly specifically what to do on Saturday, but we just wanted to do a general overview. Water and soda server. As a water and soda server, you will be responsible for providing beverages to participants and following COVID safety instructions. Let me make sure I insert that they will be paying for water and soda, okay? There's no freebies unless you're a volunteer in your headquarters. We'll make sure the stages have water, that kind of thing. So if they're coming up to a tent, they need to be paying for that item. One thing to know for everyone who's in those areas is that if you want to pay by credit card, you're going to have to go to the Scripps tent that's near that lot near McCool's across from Natty Green's, okay? That is the only place to process a credit card. They can go down there, process a credit card, get their ID check, they'll get a wristband, and then that way we know that they can, is it doing a wristband or wristband?
We're doing both. So
Okay.
in that tent will be wristbands and sprint, but you'll also have wristbands on in your location of water, well, not water, but for your
Beer.
beer sales. If you're doing beer sales,
Yeah.
you would need to check ID there too if they don't already have on hand.
Yeah.
And before Saturday or during check-in, I'll let you know what bands to look out for that, you know, if someone walks up on your line and say, I have one, but you didn't give it to them, you know that it matches what you have.
Yeah. So that is the way that they purchase the beer and the water or soda with a credit card. The food trucks have been informed not to sell beverages, so that is the only way that you can get a beverage is to go to one of the 3 tent locations along the way. Okay. So that's something for you all to know. Same thing with beer. Obviously, it's sales. We will have the beer from RH Behringer on site, and just a general kind of craft beer. Is it craft beer?
Michelob, Bud Light.
Yeah.
There will be one craft beer at the actual beer stations, and then a seltzer.
Right. And then
that
we
you'll sell.
Right, and then we will have 3 other of the breweries from downtown set up on the footprint. Natty Greens, Little Brothers, and South End will also be on the footprint selling their beer. In order to make sure things are consistent, beer is the same price no matter what tent you visit, whether it's a downtown business or through the festival, okay? And so we will have those sales going on. If you're working in the beer area, we're gonna ask one person to be like our ID check person, so that probably needs the one who's the most comfortable interacting with people because you have to talk to them. If you are an ID check person, just be prepared for someone to go like this and like as if you're going to put the wristband on them. I don't fully understand why people do that all the time, but they do. You know, if you're not comfortable helping someone with the wristband, then maybe you should not be the ID check person because you're probably going to run into a lot of people that want you to do that. You don't have to. You can say, you know, please put it on yourself, but you're going to find people who they're asking because they can't. And so in that regard, you want to be able to assist them. So we're going to have someone in ID check, and then of course you got to have a wristband on at the beer in order to purchase the beer. No wristband, no purchase. So we just got to make sure we stick to that and make sure everyone is getting their IDs properly checked. We are actually checking IDs. We're not scanning them to make sure they're just a driver's license. We want to make sure they're actually 21. So maybe on the signs, if we can write down the year you would have been born by to be 21, just to make it easy, that will work. As of right now, we're not doing Uncle Sam escorts. We're going to let Uncle Sam escort themselves this weekend. But if we had someone, they would be in that role. Hospitality and check-in, you're assisting with volunteers as they come in. Like I said, Tia is going to be here as well as Marvella. They'll be here all day long to assist. So there'll be other things like replenishing the snacks and, you know, setting up the water, that kind of thing, just assisting as needed in this area. The mechanical bull assistance, we actually don't have anybody assigned to that yet, but just in case you are the one who gets in that position for some reason, the mechanical bull comes with an operator from the company that's bringing it, but we do need someone to help manage the line and wipe it down. For the next person gets on. It's probably the most important one we've got. And then we also have a dunk tank attendant, and that person is assisting people with the line, explaining people how to use the dunk tank. It seems simple, but everybody hasn't done it before. We have 4 well-known names around Greensboro that will be on the stand to get dunked throughout the day. They're getting up an hour at a time, starting at 4 p.m. So if you're on that dunk tank assignment, you are going to be shown, like, you know, making sure you know exactly how many balls there are to begin with, make sure we get all the balls back, wiping the balls down in between people, that kind of thing. So we will kind of take that as it goes. The fire department is going to be in charge of putting water in it, and of course, if we run out of water, they'll help us put water back in it later in the day. They're just going to be like literally right next to it, so there won't be any issues there. Trying to think if we had any other positions. Who was the one we were talking about in the office a few minutes ago?
I don't remember. I was trying to remember.
Yeah, I think Tia wrote it down. We will remember what it is. That's the first aid attendant.
Oh,
So
that's
it was.
right.
So we
Oh,
may
fun.
have somebody on first aid. The February 1 location is just a tent. It's not attached to anything else. So we're going to have to assign a volunteer to that. That is just literally just sitting there with water and a first aid kit, assisting someone and a radio just in case we need to radio for more help. We're not asking you to render aid. We're asking you to stay here as the Band-Aid. Okay?
And if someone feels a little faint, or, you know, we're not gonna obviously send them somewhere to purchase water. That's the water that
Right.
you'll provide to someone if they came up to you.
Right.
You know, just looking a little flushed,
Yeah.
faint.
Yeah. I think that is the basic overview of all the positions, this year. Does anybody have any questions? All right, everybody.
I had just a
Yeah.
clarifying question,
Mhm.
because I got the email, I signed up for the hospitality check-in, but you said that there may be some changes. Do you anticipate?
So we
changes.
have a couple of things that we're working to do to finish filling all the positions. So the goal is not to make any more changes than what we've already done. There may have been a chance that we told you where you were going to be, and you're still doing the same thing. You're just not in that same location. If it's hospitality check-in, we have not touched any of those assignments.
Oh, okay.
So you are still here, and
So I would show it here.
yeah. So we're good on hospitality and check-in. It's just making sure that all the beverage areas are staffed properly is really important. So we'll let you know if anything changes. But if you asked to be here, then more than likely you did it because you don't want to be in the heat as well. And so we respect that. So we're not going to just be like, get out there. Because, okay. Yeah. So we definitely will respect that. Yes, sir.
One question.
Uh-huh.
The bill, is that, free pour or that you can't follow and do that with
It's cans.
Is it a free pour? Is it going to be in a can or a bottle?
So the ones that's gonna be at the tents, which is festival, which is being sold by the festival, is gonna be the aluminum bottles. And the seltzer is gonna be in a can. The seltzer, and we have one craft beer, which is Pernicious. I believe Pernicious is gonna be in a can as well, and a seltzer, but the Michelob Ultra and Bud Light will be in the aluminum bottles. And the locations of the craft beer is where they'll have pours.
And that's the, you mean
And
the-
all of the craft beers are handled in there also. We don't actually have volunteers working any of the craft vendors for their beer. They're managing it themselves and staffing it themselves. So we only have you at the actual beverage locations at the festival itself.
And we'll make sure that gloves are available throughout.
Yes.
So if anybody wants
Yes.
gloves for any reason, regardless of
have
whether you're
gloves.
pouring or writing that stuff down, you can have
Collecting
them.
money, if
Yeah.
you want gloves for that, we definitely will provide you with gloves.
So that would be, so mask, gloves, sanitizer, anything, things to wipe the area down, anything that you're
Yes.
gonna need in that regard will be on site.
Yes.
Especially for those who are sanitizing. Cause your hands are gonna be raw by the end of the day.
Did you ask the second part of your question, or did you get it answered?
She said, well, yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Just so everyone knows, like we said, the festival, the stage entertainment runs till 9. We are shutting down beer and water and beverage service at 8. So what we do is, even though we're ending at 8, say your shift just started at 7, 7:30, I think that range we had, it means that you're helping us clean it up. So please don't just leave. So that's why the timing is there. You probably on the evening, on that last, if you're on the last shift, more than likely you will go home well before 11 o'clock. To be honest with you, it might take you an hour to break down. One of our team members is gonna roll up next to you with a golf cart, you're gonna load it up, and then you can be on your way and you're done for the night. But that is so our early morning folks are helping set up, our late in the day folks are helping with breakdown once the festival is done. The laser show is being sponsored by the city, and it's being held technically off the main footprint. It's gonna be over off of Davie and Market. And that area is separate. So we're gonna shut down, and the crowd's gonna go that way. Other people who maybe didn't even come to the festival are gonna go that way. It has nothing to do with us on the festival line in terms of cleaning up. So we're gonna run that music until 9 o'clock and then give people time. So it starts at 9:30, the laser show. So it gives the crowd plenty of time to move over that way. You'll probably see the crowd start to move a little bit sooner. We don't really know how the community is going to react to laser show versus fireworks. Fireworks are a real big deal. I don't know how people are going to respond to laser show per se, but normally you start to see, that little exodus to head towards that area. People want to get a good seat, that kind of thing.
A good piece of information for the laser show, which you guys being volunteers will probably get asked is there any seating or anything like that? The question is no, it's bring your own chair, bring a blanket, sit, however you do, but there won't be any standing room, sitting room if you bring your own lawn chair, that kind of.
And it is standing and sitting. There's
Yeah.
no cars
No
in
cars
that
parked
lot.
into the lot.
So same procedure pretty much as fireworks has
Yeah.
been in the past. But you probably will get that question,
Yeah.
because fireworks is probably the #1 question we get every year. You may also, when the people who are setting up on the front end of it, you're probably gonna have people walk up to you and ask you just a lot of random questions. Do your best to answer the questions. You're all gonna have, maps and basic things in your areas that you can share that information with them. Of course, get your zone manager if the question is out of your depth. But the main thing is just be as respectful as possible. You know, if you feel yourself hitting your point, and everybody in here knows your own point, you need to tap out with another volunteer or go get the zone manager. But please don't start yelling at people. We actually have had volunteers yelling at people in the past, and that's not something that we want, okay? If you can't hold it together, we probably will ask you to take a break,
Yes.
okay?
And there will be printouts of this map at all of the locations, so you guys, people will have it and something that people can feel free to pull on themselves.
Right.
But we'll have on station so that you guys can say, well, here's a map of where everything is located, and more information can be found on the back.
Yeah, stages, the stage schedule with all the
Yes.
performers, more information about COVID safety, the texting, the number, so the same information we gave you on here is also gonna be on the map for people to get in for the text alerts.
And the QR code, which is that little bar that you guys see, you can actually scan over that with your phone. You're probably gonna get a lot of questions about where they can get places to eat. That has our whole guide of all the downtown restaurants on and off of Elm Street. But you can also direct them to, Food Court Alley, that's what I'm calling it, but the one right there in the W parking lot is where those 4 vendors will be. But that QR code is on the back of that, which is why we'll have them at all the stations. So all you have to do is scan it, it'll pull up a list of all the restaurants,
So you-
within downtown.
And so just those of you who haven't done it, you're scanning it with your camera app.
Yes.
And most people say, my camera doesn't do that. Yeah, it does. So you pull your camera out like you're about to take a picture. You just hold it up until your phone recognizes it, and then it'll open up in another window. If people have an older model phone, it may not work. Just know that the QR code is just attached to knowing where the restaurants are downtown. It's not attached to everything else.
Yes.
Okay, so if they can't get it, well then that's okay. All right. But a lot of people don't realize their phone can do that. So
And you don't have to take a picture of it, you just hold it over.
you literally just hold it until it recognizes it. It might take a while. Doesn't do it instantly on every person.
Okay, yeah, you hold it, so the picture part is gonna come to the front of the phone.
So I can show you real quick. So I've got my camera app open on my phone, and then I'm just gonna hold it
Okay,
until it focuses, and then once it decides it knows what it is, it's gonna go to the website. Sometimes everybody's phone's different. Sometimes it pops up as like a notification, and they touch it, or some phones immediately open it up on the web. It just depends on the way the phone's set up.
Or if your face shows up on the screen, turn it around.
Good point, good point.
Very good point. Definitely. But the goal this weekend is just have a good time. We're excited that we got a chance to do anything at all, you know?
And it's a 1-day event.
Yeah.
We're not having a 2-day event. We're doing everything on 1 day.
wonder
so-
why it's Saturday.
Huh?
I've already been asked by several people,
Yeah.
why Saturday?
Well, just the way that it fell this year, we just wanted to give people a chance. Everyone's starting to get out. People are not probably gonna be here. People wanna spend the holiday with their family. It was very last minute thrown together. As you heard Sheila say, 5 weeks for us to plan this out. So instead of trying to rack our brains with providing a 2-day event, we wanted to be 1 day and do it as small as possible and the safest way possible. So that's why we picked 1 day this year, and Saturdays seemed the better day for us to do it for everything.
And to put that into context, we normally start planning in January.
Right.
So 5 weeks is like, it has to be very, very kind of slimmed down, that kind of thing. And same thing with the fireworks. Why are there no fireworks? Because there's nothing was available by the time the state opened up and we could do things. And so that we tried, just so everybody knows, we tried real hard.
Well, at least the laser show is very clean, you know?
It is.
It's very clean.
It is, and it's still very interesting and fun to watch.
Yeah.
Kids really enjoy it. It has the music that goes along with it. So definitely, if anybody just seems super bummed out about the fireworks, just encourage them to try out the laser show. It's free. Why not? So the goal is just to have a really great day. We really want to emphasize safety though, so please make sure you're using your sanitizer. Keep your distance from people. If you don't have to be in someone's face, don't, okay? A lot of people don't necessarily respect personal space. So of course, just someone gets too close, just that's what I do. I just start backing up just a little bit at a time, but we just want to make sure that you all feel safe. And if you don't feel safe at any point, please tell your zone manager.
Right.
We want to know, we want everyone to enjoy their day. And so you're helping us kind of be our eyes and ears around the festival as well.
Did you have a question?
So if someone asks, is the city doing fireworks on the 4th?
No,
No.
there are no
There
fireworks.
are no fireworks, okay.
By the time our state opened up, there were no more fireworks available in the state.
Very,
Yeah.
And if you have fireworks, everywhere is experiencing a shortage of employees. So
Yeah.
if we were able to get fireworks, we couldn't get people to actually produce the show, right? So that just was the issue.
So
Just
that's
with
it.
everyone is experiencing a shortage in staff right now.
Okay.
But the sentiment that I've received so far is that everybody's just happy to get out and something to do. Last summer was very odd for everybody. It was very weird for us to sit at home on a July 4th for the first time in years. It was eerie almost. So we're just excited that you guys have signed up to volunteer. We appreciate you if you don't say it on Saturday. Thank you. And we're here to help. And so just let us know whatever we can do to do our job better, as well as to assist you do your job better. Okay, so if you do not have your position, talk to Tia real quick.